Hey guys, Quinn here, ValhallaOutfitter.com. This gun is empty. This is a Henry 3030, the later edition with the side gate, so it's the H009g, although this would work probably for any Henry lever gun. I had a scope on here, a couple different ones. I wasn't I'm unhappy with them. I've had good results with this rifle. I've shot pigs and deer with it. However, I really wanted to take it back kind of to its roots. Take it back to a gun that you shoot with open sights that maybe has a little more skill involved. I have plenty of guns with variable optics. This one I wanted to take it kind of back old school. I had tried to use the factory buckhorn sight that comes installed, or semi-buckhorn sight that comes installed on this gun. However, even with the setting all the way at the maximum, I was 7 inches low at 100. Henry offered to take the rifle back. However, I told them that I had done a trigger job, and they said, well, you're going to have to take that out, which isn't going to happen. And they said, if you send it in and we decide to work on it, we can refuse it because it's altered, or if we do work on it, we're going to restore it back to factory settings and charge you parts and labor. So that clearly wasn't going to happen. Most gun manufacturers probably would be very reluctant or have a policy of not accepting any guns back for work that have been worked on. But this trigger came in at over 6 pounds and I just couldn't use the thing. So the only thing I could do at that point is I could have simply drifted out this front sight and replaced it with a taller one, which would have addressed the issue. And I did actually get a taller sight that we may end up using. And I'll show you that in a second. So instead of the semi-buckhorn sights, what we went with here is the Skinner Peep Sight. This is the Skinner Express. They come in blued. This is black and gold. They come in brass if you have a brass receiver. This, you drift this in. This piece here is aperture storage, so you can have a second aperture. And it just simply drifts into where your buckhorn sight, the rear buckhorn sight, comes out. Easy installation, 2 screws. If you had an optic mounted, you will want a grub screw to fill that hole that is now empty because you took your rings off. Basically, just tighten that thing down and you're good to go. There is a screw on the side to release the aperture to adjust elevation, and then a set screw so you can adjust windage by sliding this brass piece back and forth. Super easy installation here. To install this, which is an optional piece, you would need, you very well may need a nylon or brass punch to drift out your old rear sight and drift in the new one. When you drift out the old one, you will want to put a piece of paper or cardstock between that spring-loaded buckhorn and your barrel so that when you slide it off, it does not scratch your barrel. I'm going to see if the bead will work with this setup. The bead is designed so that it covers up what you want to hit, which I'm not super crazy about, whereas this blade style is set up where it is kind of like an ice cream cone. Whatever you want to hit is meant to sit on top of the blade, which I prefer. So I'm going to try this bead just to see, but otherwise I'll drift the bead out, drift the blade in. The stock blade on this thing is 1/2 inch. I ordered a blade that's 3/4 to make sure that I can get that elevation up the 7 inches that it was off, and then I can simply file this down until it's exactly where I want it to be. For me, on a lever gun, on this 3030, effective max range of this gun, to me, is about 200 yards. I probably wouldn't shoot it past like 160. If I zero this so that it's 3 inches high at 100, that gets me to maximum point blank range, good out to about 200. I don't know if I want to be that high at 100, so I will probably zero it to 1.5 or 2 inches high at 100, which means I'm good out to 160, and that's about the range that I would shoot this gun. How does the peep sight work? It takes advantage of your eye's natural inclination to center things. So when you sight something through the peep, you do not actually look at the rear aperture. So you don't actually look at the aperture. It's just a place to line up your eye, and when you look through it, then your eye will naturally be inclined to put the very center, to put the bead at the very center of the aperture. It is just the way your eye is wired. So when you look through it, now it's a little bit hard to see on a dark background unless you've got that brass bead polished up a little bit, or if you go with the brass blade. All in all, super happy. We'll get it out to the range. We'll figure out what it takes to get this thing dialed. Basically, because I know that this bead is a 1/2 inch, I'll shoot it, I'll group it, and then depending on how high this, or if this gun is now on, then I'm good. If it's high, I can just adjust the aperture, and if it's low, I could try adjusting the aperture, but a good fix for a low shooting open sight gun is to get a higher front sight, and that's why I've got that brass bead. I'll install that and then file it down to be perfect, and I'll tell you guys how it works. It's particularly easy to line up when you look at a bright background. You want to make sure that you can see your bead or pick it up if it is on a darker background or in lower light. But hogs and deer out to 160. This is now the lightest hunting gun in my cabinet, coming in at 7 pounds with no optic. Unless you had like a 5.5 pound, maybe carbon fiber gun with an optic, it's going to be hard to get a gun that is sighted and accurate much lighter than that. So just a great gun to carry out in the bush. Really enjoy shooting it, and I'm excited now that we're kind of taking it back to its historic roots, if you will, and I'll let you know how it goes. Thanks for coming by. Skinner Peep Sights. Check them out. Made in the USA. You don't see that every day.